Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brave Space,
a 3-episode podcast series starting a collective of women and allies,
discussing our experiences and spreading knowledge.
This episode is all about women in the workplace.
This will be breaking down the topic into multiple subgroups, including
treatment, fears at work,
harassment, fairness in pay and higher positions,
and what makes us proud to be women.
Hi, my name is Minuet.
Hi, I'm Blanca.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
Hi, I'm Maria.
And we will be discussing treatment, harassment, and assault in the workplace.
My name's Raquel Romero. I'm currently a production supervisor and my pronouns are she and her. One of the biggest things in production, and even when I was in engineering, is that there's not a lot of female supervisors in the production world, or at least where I'm at, especially young female production supervisors. So one of the biggest challenges has been trying to not really get respect, but kind of show that I deserve their respect. So far I've been blessed with, employees who are respectful, but I do have a couple run-ins with people at work who don't like the idea of a female supervising them or someone else.
Raquel's experiences are extremely relatable. To earn respect as a woman in the workplace, we need to perform 10 times harder than men. To this day, the housewife stereotype still lingers upon us, and we're seen as these emotional and fragile beings constantly being questioned if we're stable and strong enough, especially in any high-ranking positions. We're expected to be caretakers and mothers, but never independent and bosses. Less than 5% of CEOs at S&P 500 companies are women, but we make up 47% of the US workforce. Women earn about 20% less than their male counterparts, and the pay gap is slowly decreasing, but American women are not expected to reach equal pay until 2059. Women of color represent more than 50% of the low-wage workforce, facing the largest gaps regarding wages and representation in leadership positions. Statistics do not lie, and it's not that we're not capable, but our prejudices do not allow us to be any greater.
If I've ever experienced harassment in the workplace, I definitely have gotten not really harassment, but more comments made that I don't think someone would have made to a male counterpart. If I was a young male engineer, I don't think I would have gotten these comments. And I have seen this person make other comments towards other young engineers at work, female engineers, especially interns. And so it's not so much that they were like open comments, but they were kind of like insinuations, like innuendos kind of. And I was like, I don't know if I really appreciate that, So yeah, I have experienced a little bit of harassment in my past.
I think it's unfortunate with instances like Romero's experience being a woman in engineering. She experienced that verbal harassment so often. This is an example of how society has conditioned women to believe that this is a normal behavior. Society has continued to accept these actions by men when degrading women because they don't belong in that profession. Less than 40% of women who experience violence seek help of any sort, according to the United Nations Women. More than half of women in the majority of countries don't feel safe to take a stance against these behaviors because we know most instances like these, the higher management won't act on it and will most likely ignore it or just push it aside. I think during times like right now, with all the abuse against the Black and Asian community and against women, we need everyone to see the unjust and demand for change.
I agree. It is unsettling for women to experience verbal harassment way too many times. Romero, a production supervisor, claims if she was a male engineer, she wouldn't get these comments. And repeatedly, women are stereotyped and looked down upon when in a higher level position. Even if it isn't a stereotype, many women experience harassment in the workplace and bury it within themselves.
So Raquel's experiences are really relatable to me. Before I started studying journalism, I was studying food science and tech. And I was working at a lab, and definitely it felt more of like a guy environment. And most of the time, guys were considered the hard workers, even though we were all a team. But management seemed to favor them. And definitely at that workplace, I also experienced things that men might not have experienced. when it comes to the story that Miss shares, I think it's sad that sometimes we have to laugh off harassment in the workplace or kind of set it aside because there's no better training. I feel like a lot of us have gone through similar experiences at one point in our lives. And I think it's a mix of feelings of being confused, being angry, feeling powerless, feeling like people won't believe you or will judge you. Because 75% of workplace harassment victims experienced retaliation when they spoke up. So I think it's definitely something that as a society we have to work on together to become a safe space for people to feel like they can open up.
Hi, my name is Noemi.
Hi, I'm Diana.
Hi, I'm Anel. And I'm Breeze, and today we'll be discussing women in journalism and what makes us proud to be women.
So my name is Dr. Annalena Hope Hasberg. I teach in the Ethnic and Women's Studies Department here at Cal Poly Pomona. My students know me as Dr. Hope, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, or they, them, theirs. So there's a statistic that gets thrown around, right? We've all kind of heard that women earn on average about 83 cents for every dollar that men make, right? And so this is without considering race as part of that conversation, or people who, as I mentioned, are gender nonconforming or trans identified, right? So when we're talking about white women earn about 81 cents for every dollar that white men make. But Black women earn about 65 cents for every dollar white men make. And Latino women make 58 cents, right? So it's going down, down, down as we start talking about race and the kinds of jobs and the kinds of workplaces that women of color are occupying.
It was interesting to see what Dr. Hope mentioned about the fairness in pay. I had a similar experience where my parents ended up working at the same place. My mom had been there for 6 years, and she had a steady increase in salary. And my dad joined later on, and within a year, he made almost as much as she did. So it was just like insane to see how much his salary increased in the span of like 1 year. And my mom, it took so much longer. So eventually he left, but it was a tough situation to be in for both of them.
Yeah, that's crazy. We see many times that men and women are treated differently in the workplace, which brings up the topic with the workplace in journalism.
Hi, my name is Olivia Laveda. I am a multimedia journalist. I work here in Austin. I cover stories all the way up to Waco, Texas, working for Spectrum News 1, Texas. I think definitely there is an advantage of being a woman when it comes to anything, right? Because women, we rock. I know when it comes to maybe if it's like a tricky situation, if I am approaching a woman, she's going to probably most likely feel more comfortable with me approaching her than maybe a man. I think it really depends on the situation, but I like to use it to my advantage. You know, I remember when I first started reporting, I would go out in the field and have my tripod and my camera because I do work as a multimedia journalist. And people go, "Where's your cameraman?" And my favorite response is, "You're looking at him."
It's good to know that women have an advantage in the field and are looked as approachable when we are asking for a source, just like Olivia explained. But when Olivia was asked, where is your cameraman? It sort of suggested that women are a rare sight in journalism. And so that sort of brings me to what are the stats in journalism? How many women do we have representing our field? So according to the Women's Media Center, a nonprofit organization working to raise the visibility of women, men dominate US media, receiving 63% of bylines and other credits in print, internet, and wire. The same goes for broadcast, where we see men report twice as much as women do for channels like ABC, CBS, NBC, and PBS. Meanwhile, women only receive 37% of that visibility on screen.
That's really crazy because media is everywhere. And, people are consistently, on the news, especially with everything going on. And just to think that we have a small percentage of women in broadcasting, I think that's very, like, that needs to change for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's like you can tell that women are also kind of just like put into a box of like, if you're going to be a reporter, you can be a reporter in this area, whether it's like fashion or like celebrity news or something like that, rather than like, you know, women. It's rare to see like women in sports journalism or whatever it is. But yeah.
Diversity matters, inclusion matters, representation matters, right? So I don't know how else to add to that really, but it does matter because when you have different voices in the newsroom, you get to cover a variety of stories and you make sure that your viewers' voices and the stories that matter to them are being covered and that we don't miss those because we have a lack of representation or diversity in a certain area.
To give you a better perspective of what diversity looks like in journalism, women of color just represent 7.95% of US print newsroom staff, 12.6% of local TV news, and 6.2% of local radio staff, which is so low.
Yeah, I agree that those stats are really low. And, I definitely agree with what Olivia stated, in which diversity matters and creating a path for other women and people of color is so important.
I was going to cover like that Sunday before the election, I was doing a story and they expected riots up until, if not, inauguration day and so on, right? So I was already doing stories about those businesses boarding up and things of that nature. That's when we had to have the conversation. Do we need to have security?
Olivia brings up how she has to, be cautious in certain areas, especially, depending on the event or what's happening, which gets me to think that it's so hard for women, especially, to walk alone or go to the store alone because, we are afraid. An example is, with my own personal experience is I remember this has happened to me multiple times where I go to the store by myself and I'm being followed. And it's so scary. It's so uncomfortable. This has happened more than once. And I feel like as women, we always have to be aware of our surroundings.
That really brings up a very hard topic that, women constantly have to deal with, either being followed or being stalked or being harassed. Even on the street, we can see that while women are just, doing something as normal as walking to the store or walking, anywhere.
My advice that I would give the young woman journalist who's just, about to graduate or just about to give into her career is to not give up and keep pushing forward and do everything you can, research wise. Figure out what they are looking for out of the job that you're going for. Yeah, have a plan, don't give up, and keep pushing forward.
With all that said, I think through all of these experiences that we kind of have to endure, it just really helps us learn how to be more empowered as women and to really see the value that we have in ourselves and in our work.
Thanks so much for watching.
Catch us next week on another episode of Brave Space,
where we'll talk about women's beauty standards.
What did you learn today?
Resources are linked in bio.
Click on the like and subscribe buttons below.
And share with all your friends and family.
This could be your brave space too.
Bye.